department retreats, and we would all come together as a small group and we would talk about whatever we needed to discuss and plan and plot and try to make magic for what we really wanted to accomplish as a department. And few times this would be in my home. I wanted people to come into my home, because I should back up and say that I've been in this position for just a little over 2.5 years. I've been at SDSU for just a little over 2.5 years. So I came into a department that already existed. And there was a lot of work, at least a lot of desire on my part to create the kind of environment that would allow us to grow and get better in the midst of a transition, in the midst of a new person coming in to lead the department. So one of the things that came out of one of our first retreats was really determining what our mission should be and our vision for the department. So I have to read these out loud. I'm a member of a couple different organizations where we recognize the power of words and how reading them out loud really makes a difference. So the mission of our center: the Center for Educational Partnerships, Outreach, and Success seeks to educate, empower, and motivate prospective, incoming, and current students, families, and communities in the pursuit of higher education. We provide guidance and promote opportunities to access higher education through leadership, engagement, and service. By leveraging the leadership potential of our students as scholars and mentors, as well as enhancing opportunities for parent engagement, we provide both prospective and current students and their families with the tools to realize their fullest potential. Our vision: the Center for Educational Partnerships, Outreach, and Success is passionate about strengthening communities by empowering students to become local and global citizens through the enhancement of their capacity for leadership, mentorship, and academic achievement. So those are, we put our heads together and kind of tried to figure out, and it's so hard to distill everything that you value and believe into a few sentences. And it's very possible that as we move forward, these may change and evolve based on the needs of our community, based on who we are as a department, but this is where we sit right now. So with that comes the people who make all of that come to life. And we have our staff meetings on Wednesday mornings, and I was sharing with some of the staff that I'm hoping that by the time I'm done with you guys in this next 40 minutes or so, is that while there's a lot of information on the slides that gives you knowledge and information about our department and what we do, I feel like the most important stuff are things that I couldn't really put on the slides. The things around how, these pictures, these people, on this slide work together, what leadership looks like, what truly embracing the idea of being a student-centered department looks like. It's hard to put that on a slide. It's hard to say, to kind of quantify that in black and white on the screen. But I'm hoping that by the time I'm done talking, you'll see what's here and what's not here as well, if that makes sense. But this is our team, and all of us each have a role, a job that we do within the department. But what's most important, I think, for the way that we work is that all those lines get blurred when work needs to get done. I find myself sometimes struggling when we're introducing ourselves as a team, and you have to say, well, what do you do in the department? And for me as the executive director, and I know Alyssa and Monty can speak to this, sometimes all I can say is I just get out of the way or give my amazing people the tools that they need to do the jobs that they are there to do. And clearly I do a bunch of stuff, right? But at the end of all of it, when I think about the most important thing is being the kind of leader that opens up the space for everybody on our team to be able to realize their potential. We talk about potential a lot with our students, but potential is something that I believe in for us as staff as well. And having a group of people to work with that where everyone knows that they have support, that no one is afraid to ask a question. We tend to get along and agree most of the time, but I'm always kind of saying to people, we don't have to agree, that we built the kind of working environment where we have enough respect and love for one another to where if we don't agree, that's okay too. But I'm really proud, I guess, of this team and of what we've built and how we have had to transition. We've got new people on our team. And I'm going to show you something in a moment that I'll get to that. But, we've had to bring together people and programs that didn't exist together before. So, along with all of the things that we had been doing as a department, we also inherited new programs and new people. And so that has taken a lot of trust and a lot of work for us to include and build in that family feeling that I think our students feel and is what draws them to us and keeps them engaged with the programs that we have in our department. So these are, I won't read everybody, but these are all the folks that are on our team. I think it's helpful to see the faces with the job titles and who's who, because I feel like there's not always an opportunity for these kinds of things to be shared. So I really love this opportunity to be able to just talk about where we are as a department. So I'm going to move on because I have a feeling I'm going to get off on a tangent and end up running out of time. So I'm going to try to keep myself on task here. But our center actually is made up of these programs. So the Prize Community Scholars Program, which we also work with the Parent Institute for Quality Education, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. Actually, the picture on this slide is a picture from a graduation ceremony of families who have gone through the Parent Institute for Quality Education, which is a wonderful, wonderful, I think it's a 9-week course that parents go through to be able to help their students navigate the road to college. And it's such a beautiful, beautiful thing for us to be able to support. And I'll talk a little bit more about that one also. But we also have Students with Academic Goals, which is a partnership with a few different folks in the San Diego community. And then our early assessment program, which is really about English and math readiness for SDSU. Our Compact for Success, which is the outreach and the knowledge that our Sweetwater Union School District students and families need to have in order to have the guarantee of admission, and our Compact Scholars Program, which is the college side piece of the compact. So once the students actually get into SDSU, what happens to them as compact scholars? So those are the 5 main areas in our department that we are all responsible for. So I was reluctant to share this because it feels a bit like, sharing this slide with you all feels a little bit like, I don't know if you've ever had this feeling, like what it would be like if you were entertaining and brought somebody into your closet, But I felt like it was important because as we were making this transition as a department, one of the things that kept me awake at night was figuring out, how do we all work together? How do the programs work together? How do the people work together? What does this new merged program look like? Because we inherited the early assessment program and the Compact Scholars Program from the academic affairs side of the house. And so I don't want you to focus too much on the tiny little words on this slide. What I really want is for you to look at the colors that we have here, because this is going to kind of give you an idea of the areas of focus of what we work with in our department. So the green is education and outreach. So everything having to do with what we do in the community, in the school districts, right, is somehow characterized in those green stickies. The middle is really all of our administrative stuff in the department, all the things that we have to do to keep ourselves running, as smoothly as we possibly can. Things in there include grant writing and reporting, because we have some grant funded initiatives in our department. All of the MOUs that we may have responsibility for or contact with. All the administrative stuff, the calendars, the social media, all of those things. And then the purple is the student success side. So I feel like we're kind of a unique department at SDSU because under this roof, we're facing both directions. I guess that's the best way to put it. We're facing outward into the community quite a bit in a number of different ways with our programs, but we're also facing inward with regard to what are we doing for the students that are a part of our initiatives, and how are we surrounding them with the services and the help that they need to be able to be successful at SDSU and beyond. So it's like we're looking at both sides. How do we get students to SDSU, and then how do we get them out of SDSU? And we get to, as a staff, be on both sides of that. So that's really all I wanted to kind of get you to see with this scary, kind of convoluted Padlet, but I'm a visual learner. And when I was trying to figure out, well, what does it look like for Compact Scholars to be a part? Is Compact Scholars, that's under our Student Success Initiative. Let's see what that looks like and how we can merge that and the people into what we've already got kind of as a template for our department. So I hope all that makes sense. And I'm happy to answer questions if anybody has questions along the way. Hopefully, Jennifer, if you can keep track if anybody raises their hand, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So we're going to start with the Price Community Scholars Program. So Price Community Scholars began in 2012, and it is really a partnership that exists between the university, nonprofits, and the school district, basically, to be able to have a program that is both sides of what I was just talking about. How what we're doing in the community, how we are actually showing ourselves as SDSU to students and families within the community, and then how are we ushering in scholars to SDSU that are going to be able to give back to the community. And so this program, I think, is just one of the is just is to me it's a beautiful model where students who went to high school in City Heights at Crawford or at Hoover High Schools, once they're admitted to SDSU, we reach out and ask them, invite them to apply for the Price Community Scholarship, which would provide them, and I have another slide that's going to be by the numbers, but the idea is that these students, incoming SDSU students, become mentors for middle school students in schools in City Heights, specifically Clark and Wilson middle schools, for a 4-year period of time. And we do this with a cohort model. And so this slide really just tells you, some of the services that are provided to both mentors and mentees. So basically, it's programming for students within the school district in our local area, as well as programming for the students who are mentoring them who are at SDSU. And the idea is that we want to create this cycle of achievement, if that makes sense, that allows us to keep this moving forward. So I wanted to show you what it looks like by the numbers. Um, so the first cohort was in 2012. We bring in a new cohort of Price Scholars every other year. The number of students in each cohort is 15, and the scholarship amount is up to $7,500 a year. There are 45 mentees, 45 students that are in middle or high school in the City Heights area in the San Diego Unified School District. And like I said, the program is a 4-year commitment on the part of the mentors, the mentees, and obviously us, our staff in the department. And the number of cohorts that we've served to date are 5. So, and we are now seeing increased numbers of students who were mentees. A member of that number of 45 at Clark, Wilson, and Hoover, who are now mentors at SDSU for another generation of middle schoolers and high schoolers in the district. And we're loving that. And we're seeing the benefits of what that cycle, that beautiful cycle looks like. The collaborators, obviously, none of this work can be done in a vacuum. It's our department, but with the help and support of many other partners on campus. So we wouldn't be able to do this without EOP, without the Office of Financial Aid Scholarships, without Student Health and Wellness and ECRT, and without admissions. Those are some of the main ones, not an exhaustive list, but those are the main partners that we've worked with in order to be able to stand this program up and keep it going. The community partners, Clark Middle School, Wilson Middle School, Hoover High School, Price Philanthropies, they're the ones who give the money for the scholarships, and Hoover Community Connections, which is a collective of the organizations and nonprofits surrounding Hoover High School that provide services and resources for students and families in City Heights. And so all of us together kind of, we utilize all of that support in order to keep the program working. I'd like to say too that within the schools this year, we've got even more of a collaborative relationship with the counselors at the middle and high schools. And we're able to have an even greater impact and effect on the the college going support of those middle and high school students. And I think that relationship is getting stronger and stronger as we go. Okay. Some outcomes I wanted to share too. For our first cohort of Price mentors, they had 100% 6-year graduation rate. Our second cohort, cohort two, also had 100% 6-year graduation rate. A third of our cohort three students, which would have graduated in 2020, a third of them have graduated thus far. We are we just brought in our latest cohort, cohort five. They're incoming freshmen, so they just began in the fall. And we are so proud of them as a group because 13 out of 15 of our first year students this year have above a 3.0 GPA, and 8 of them made the Dean's List this year. And there are just a number of different programs and uh, wraparound services that we've provided that I think have aided in their success thus far. Not the least of which is the leadership minor. We've been working with the School of Education. They're all together pursuing a leadership minor. They are involved in a seminar that every semester for the 4 years that they're with us. And we're also now connecting the mentors who came in 2018 with the mentors who just came in 2020. And so we've got layers of mentoring relationships now where we're utilizing the experience of our mentors who are currently now juniors to support our mentors who are currently now freshmen. And so it's like we're kind of working with various levels and providing students all these opportunities to be leaders and to support each other as well. So I'm really proud. The program, I think, is an amazing program, and we're really, really happy to have a donor that believes in what we're doing with this program and continues to support it in the way that they do. So Students with Academic Goals is really a partnership between our department with SDSU and the California Student Aid Commission, Bayview Baptist Church, and UCSD. And in the past, Students with Academic Goals was focused on solely SAT preparation. Students would go, it's a summer program, and Bayview Baptist Church was the location for the classwork. And on top of them going through intense SAT preparation, and tutoring, they were also exposed to the local college campuses. So there would be college visits. We would plan a day where these students would be brought to each of the campuses in San Diego. And these are all students that are from underserved schools in San Diego who are generally first gen and low income students. And the program is free of charge. It's funded through a number of different ways through all of the partners, including SDSU. And we've been a partner in working to make sure that this program continues to happen. This summer, and given the world that we live in now, we're pivoting what SWAG looks like. SWAG is now going to kind of expand its programming to really be engaging in more of a college going conversation as opposed to a test preparation conversation. And so not that we're completely abandoning, what we really want to focus on is giving students all of the tools that we can within that timeline to be able to help them and their parents navigate the road to college and to be able to do it, do it effectively. So we've had to change a lot of things. This summer is probably going to be a virtual program, but we're really working to put together a kind of, for lack of a better term, a mini conference that students will be able to take advantage of that will obviously keep in mind that we can't keep kids in Zoom all day during the summer, putting the right combinations of information together in the smallest snippets of time that we possibly can to empower them to be able to move through the process the right way. And we're working together, all the partners are working together on that to make the program even better. And I feel like we talk a lot about this in the department, about the silver linings that come up as a result of, what we've been dealing with COVID. We've learned a lot of things about how to adapt and how to change and how to make things the best that they can be under the circumstances. And I'm a believer at this point that we're probably in the process of learning some things that we might want to keep going with. There might actually be good things that we can take away from this experience that will allow us to do what we do even better and possibly meet even greater needs than we're able to meet now. I think COVID has forced us to figure out what help actually means and how to deliver it in the best way that we can. And I feel like there's knowledge there that we don't want to lose or let go of once we are no longer, under the circumstances that we are. So these partnerships and these collaborations and us coming together to figure out how we do what we do and thinking out of the box and asking questions in different ways is, to me, is the way that we're going to have to go forward no matter what. So this partnership is one that we're really proud of and that SDSU continues to support. And I'm just really happy that we're able to continue working with these partners to make the Students with Academic Goals program keep happening. So,
Mary,
yeah.
Chris Turntine has a question, or at least he's got his hand up.
Okay.
Hi, Mary. Thank you.
Hi, Chris.
Yeah, I just was interested in how students would qualify to participate in the SWAG program. I was involved in past years, and I know there was discussion around, it was just SAT prep, whether we were enrolling students that had no GPA chance of ever getting into SDSU, those kinds of things. So just want to know if there's any updates on how students would get involved in SWAG.
Yes.
Or what
So
eligibility.
So we obviously the students who are first gen low income have priority and they have to fill out an application where we capture the information about their GPA, their, as much as we possibly can. And then decisions are made, to try to meet the greatest need. But again, I've only been here for a couple years so far. And one of the first questions I had about SWAG was, well, why are we only focused on the SAT? And are there other ways that we can be supporting and helping our students? And so the application process is handled completely on the UCSD side. They've got their some automated system that students are able to go in online and submit their applications, and then all the information comes back and decisions are made. And one of the things that I really like is that we've gotten to a point in this partnership where our staff and our department get to weigh in and have some words at the table around which students are being admitted into the program. In the past, we have had more students apply than we can actually accommodate. That may not be true now, at least for this year. We're talking a lot about, well, what it means to be virtual and how many students could we actually accommodate and do this program, with the virtual perspective. So I don't know if I answered your question, Chris, but there's an application process. We capture all that information and we're able to see who the students are that would benefit the most from the program. And it obviously depends now on, I advocated quite a bit for there to be 8th graders admitted into the program. I was kind of shot down on that, but I feel like the earlier the better, especially for students who do still have lower GPAs, to give them the time to be able to build them up and get to a point where they would be, really benefit from the program. And I think those conversations are still going to keep happening. But we are looking, it's not just, I think, a willy-nilly thing anymore where just anybody's kind of brought in. We're looking at who they are and what information they supply to us so that we can make the best decision on who would benefit the most.
Thank you. I work with some youth auxiliary groups, so I'll definitely refer them over.
Oh, please do. And I think we've almost got the flyer ready. So I'll be sharing that widely as well.
Thank you.
So the other program, and I talked a lot about what, the transition that our department has been going through. The early assessment program used to be housed in what used to be called DASA. And if you ask me what DASA stands for, I might not get it right, but it's the Division of Academic something and Student Success something. I can't remember. It is now DFAS. Jennifer, can you help me? Do you remember?
Academic Engagement and Student Achievement.
Thank you. Okay. And it is now the Division of...
It was basically merged, so it's now faculty advancement and student success are all
Got it.
together. So it's everything's under Joanna Brooks now.
Got it. Okay. So this is just as of this year that the early assessment program has become a part of our center. And it feels like it's synergy. We were already doing work, as you're going to see with our Compact for Success and the outreach work that we already do. The early assessment program is a really great fit into into our portfolio of services that we offer. This outward facing community work, and not the least of which, everyone in our department has a real, I think, commitment and belief in educating to the best of our ability as many students and families as possible so that they understand what they need in order to get to college. And so having early assessment, understanding what math and English readiness means, being able to define terms, being able to point students and families to resources, it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. I think that complements all the other work that was already taking place in our department. So early assessment is a system-wide initiative. And our SDSU representative is Rosie Villafana Hatcher, and she does amazing work working, talk about outward facing, we're facing the community. Early assessment is also outward facing to the rest of the CSU system. I'm learning a lot and starting to get to know all the players at the system level around early assessment, understanding what other universities, how they approach early assessment and work in the communities with helping students. But the idea really is that you catch students in their early high school years to give them the time to be able to put the right things and choices and decisions in place to be college ready, to be ready for the curriculum, to be ready for what college is going to be expecting of them. So it's great work. And actually, if I had thought about this, because I'm going to share the presentation, I could have put the links to a bunch of these things. So maybe I'll do that. I'll send an email that has the links as well to some of these things if folks want to do more research and dig a little bit more deeper. I'm gonna try not to start talking fast, but so the Compact for Success started in 2006, I believe. I think that was the first 7th grade visit. And basically the history of this program is that families in the Sweetwater Union School District had some things to say about the college going rates of the students there. At the same time, leadership at SDSU were very interested in that as well. And what came together as a result of all those conversations was the Compact for Success, which was a guarantee of admission for students from the Sweetwater Union School District based on them following a certain set of criteria, right? And it also included help and support from a curriculum level for teachers and faculty in the school district to be able to aid the students in meeting these criteria. And so I won't read them all, but basically, in order to achieve the guarantee to SDSU, you need to have been in that district. You need to have a certain GPA. There needs to be a demonstration of readiness, which, as you all can imagine, given COVID, we've had to make lots of changes and adjustments to what that looks like. And you have to meet all the deadlines and all of the all the rules you have to follow. You still have to follow those, even though, and that's a big misnomer in the district because I still get calls, my name, phone number on the website. So I get parents and students reaching out to me directly saying, well, I don't have to apply, right? It's just a guarantee, and so our job as a department is to do our best to educate the Sweetwater Union community, the families, the counselors, teachers, and everyone who will listen about all the pieces to this puzzle and how to ensure that students and families have the right and most relevant information to be able to take advantage of this guarantee of admission. And so that takes the form of our outreach assistants, our staff in our department who do a lot of work with schools and counselors to be sure that we're all on the same page. Communication is one of the most important aspects of this program, and it's communication at every level. How are we communicating with middle schoolers? How are we communicating with high schoolers? How are we communicating with the counselors? Do the counselors have the most updated information? Does the district communicate with their counselors? Once we communicate information to the district, is that information making it to the people who need to have it? So we do our best to get our hand in all of those things and try to be sure, to the best of our ability, that we are arming everyone with the most updated information. It's had to change quite a bit over the last year because we've, had to move everything to virtual, which I think, again, has been one of those silver linings. Our student assistants have just done amazing work with all kinds of virtual platforms, with YouTube and with videos and with ways to impart information. How do we think out of the box about how to engage students around this idea that they can go to college, that they can go to SDSU, and here's what they need to do it. And the picture here is, along with all of that, we do visits. We brought 10th graders, 11th graders, and 9th graders to the campus. We put together a day of programming that really speaks to all of the different resources that SDSU has to offer, while reinforcing the criteria that they need to be satisfying in order to have their guarantee. All of those things are happening. And we've been able to really connect and make sure that as many students as possible have the right information to be able to take advantage of the guarantee. But we always find that there's always more work needed with regard to such a huge number of students, and the district is a pretty large one. We're always finding new and different ways to communicate and get the information out. But that's the Compact for Success. I'm hoping I didn't miss anything there, but I probably did. Just trying to get everything out. So the SDSU side of the Compact for Success is the answer to the question. The Compact Scholars Program is the answer to what happens to Compact for Success students once they come to SDSU. And the Compact Scholars Program also used to be housed in Academic Affairs within DASA, and it is now within our department, which I'm sure, hopefully, you all can see how that is such a better fit for us, for our students, for our ability to communicate, for us to look at the life cycle of a student from the time that they're a 7th grader to the time that they graduate from SDSU, and to be able to have that ability within our own department. That to me is the best benefit of Compact Scholars now being a part of within student affairs and within our department. And we're still working through our transition, getting our arms around all the different aspects of what we can do for Compact Scholars, who the Compact Scholars are once they arrive at SDSU, and what services and what is our ability to affect, support, change, success for that group of students. But just give it to you by the numbers. There are over 2,000 students on campus right now who identify as Compact Scholars who came into SDSU through the Compact Scholars Program. And like I said, the first cohort matriculated to SDSU in 2012, I believe. Is that right? If they were 7th graders in 2006, I think my math might be wrong, but you guys get the idea. And so and each year the number has grown of Compact Scholars who've been admitted to SDSU through the Compact. And we are right now looking at, with our strategic planning, how does our service of Compact Scholars get better, get enhanced through all the questions that we're asking now about how are we serving our first year students? How are we serving our first gen students? How are we serving low income students? How does our strategic planning and our goals around, as an institution, around strategic planning inform the work that we're doing with our Compact Scholars as they come onto the campus? And we're recognizing that we're going to be making changes and adjustments. Do we know this entire population? What is our ability to serve them, and what is our ability to pull together with other partners on campus to be able to serve them more effectively and in the ways that they need? So I feel like we're at a crossroads now because there's a lot of change happening, and we have a lot of opportunity to be able to, reimagine how we look at serving Compact Scholars. And I'm really excited about that. So that's the last slide I have. I can't believe I started talking fast. And I love this picture. This is a picture of our Price Community Scholars Program. And mixed in here are mentors from SDSU, mentees from middle and high school, and our department staff, having gone to see How the Grinch Stole Christmas at the Old Globe. And one of the most beautiful things that has had to take a back seat, obviously due to COVID, were the cultural enrichment and community service aspects of the Price Community Scholars Program. And I just love this picture because, you look at all those faces and all I see is the potential that they have and how amazing it is that they are actually in the company of college students who are able to tell them about their own experiences and help shepherd them to where they need to be. So with that, I'm hoping that we can have questions, dialogue. If my staff who are here have anything they want to throw in that some glaring thing that I feel like I've missed, please do so. But if there are any questions, I'm happy to, entertain that.
Chris has his hand up. Before I let him ask this question though, I just want to say, first of all, thank you, Mary. I always get so much good information out of these sessions. But just in case anybody is thinking about leaving a little bit earlier, has to get to a 1 o'clock thing, I'm going to put
You muted yourself.
I muted myself somehow. I'm putting a link in the chat to the evaluation form. And if folks can just make sure that you fill that out before you go to your next thing, that would be much appreciated. It always gives us good information and particularly if you have ideas for other topics. With that, I'll just go back to Chris, who had his hand up and took it down.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mary, for this information, and thank you to your amazing team. I know they all do great work, and I'm always so inspired by seeing when we do this outreach to the young first generation students, because it definitely makes a huge impact on their lives and their potential to get into college. My question though was around, I think a couple of years ago, there was discussions around new type of enrollment management or admissions process for San Diego State. And part of that was expanding this idea of guaranteed admission to other schools or other areas of San Diego. Has there been any like updates around that, or is it still just around like Sweetwater district?
Yeah, so right now there are only a handful of actual guarantees. Sweetwater is the largest, obviously the most visible. The other one is with Hoover High School through the College Avenue Compact. And then there are a couple of smaller ones that I think are connected with the Reality Changers program, which is a nonprofit here in San Diego. And I don't know the nature of it, but I know that there has been a connection with the Barrio Logan College Institute as well. My understanding, Chris, is that the leadership of the university is not necessarily interested in having more guarantees. I think that the direction that I feel like things are going in is expanding how we look at our local students and possibly offering more, points, if you will, for participation in local nonprofit organizations, for, the type of high school that they come from, for the fact that they're local, those kinds of things. And I'm also kind of interested in understanding with the guarantees that exist, as well as when we start to look at these other criteria that we may be using to bring students in, how do we track and support those students once they get here? Like with Price, we know exactly what we're doing. With Compact, we're figuring out how to serve maybe a larger number of students through seminars and other kinds of things. But when we start to talk about the entirety of our local population, once they get to SDSU, where do they land if they aren't in EOP, right? And so I think that's also the flip side to this question. Like, it's not just about whether we offer a guarantee, but are we the institution? Are we ready for them once they're brought into the institution? So I try to say that as much as I can whenever I get the opportunity to be a part of these conversations. But from what I understand with regard to admissions, there are not going to be any extensions of guarantees, but there will be more considerations of who the students are in the local area. And my goal would be, if we're partnering and saying that if you've been in a local nonprofit, that you're going to get maybe an extra point or two, admissions wise, then that opens the door for us as an institution to work with that nonprofit to ensure that they are helping to mitigate those gaps as well. So a Reality Changers, for example, where I used to run their college College Apps Academy program, you know, I'd want to be working with SDSU to say, okay, so what are the things that students really need to have? How do we, you know, beg, borrow, and steal summer experiences for these students that are going to best prepare them for SDSU? And so that ecosystem, I just finished my dissertation and I use this word ecosystem to describe all the people who need to be talking to each other in order to facilitate and enhance the success of our local students. And we're figuring that out right now. And I think the strategic plan is going to help, because I sit on with the chair of dean of the School of Education on activity 50, which is about this P through 16 pipeline, this life cycle thing that we're talking about, where we can try to make it seamless from the time they're in elementary school all the way up to the time they graduate from SDSU. So all of that is happening. So I don't know if I answered your question, but there's a lot that is actually going on, and there's a potential for us to be able to do more and connect more locally to be able to facilitate more students being ready and for us to be ready for them. I think both those things have to be true.
Thank you. That's great to hear. Yeah, I work with the Blue Heart Foundation, and we were able to establish an agreement with Cal State San Marcos for those students that are so actively involved in these pre-college prep nonprofit programs, and it would be great for us to take that into consideration at SDSU as well.
I think that is definitely the direction we're going in. Yeah.
Other questions or comments, feedback from Mary, thoughts? Or the rest of her team that's here? Crystal?
Hi, yes. Sorry, I am calling from my phone. But I actually just have a question. I'm an assistant professor in the Speech, Language, and Hearing Sciences department, and working on the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion committee for our school. And we have had great improvement, I guess, in those who are selecting our major specifically, who are transfer students, and we have a lot of first generation students, but in general, our field of speech, language, and hearing sciences is not diverse, and we're attempting to try to increase the diversity. And so we're having a lot of these conversations about mentorship programs that we can have for our students to assist them in getting them to graduate school. And I know you guys are just talking about getting them to college, right, as undergrads, but I'm just wondering if there is just more about your programming, if there's more specifics that you're providing your students who are in these programs about the different types of majors or professions that they can be going into, or if it's just kind of very broadly, getting to SDSU, and then from there, trying, because you were talking about like being college ready, but then I know I attended that great talk a couple weeks ago about us being student ready. Right. And so I guess I'm just wondering if that's part of it, if we're not doing that kind of counseling about which fields or professions might be best for them, instead of just, well, they're here now. Which was the first step, right? And I get that that's an important first step, but then how can we get them into the professions where they're most needed? We want those voices, heard, because if there's that representation, it will help. Specifically in our field, we service people children, students, patients, who are very diverse. And then all of our SLPs are white females from the Midwest primarily. So yes, I'm curious about.
Yeah, so this is a conversation that we have constantly. And especially when we're looking at our relationship with the students that are in middle school and high school, one of the things I think we've learned as a department is that you have to ask. We no longer assume that we have all the knowledge and information to provide resources and support without asking what is needed, what students are curious about, how students are feeling about themselves and about what their potential is. And so we're working now with our, the prospective students, the mentees that we work with, we're trying to get them to think about themselves and think about what they're interested in. When you go to school, which class is it that makes you the happiest, the one that you anticipate, the one you want to go to? So we're trying to infuse already with them thoughts about what just gets them going and what are they interested in. So not necessarily maybe, putting them, kind of into a specific major yet, but getting them to think those first thoughts about what they're really interested in and what knowledge they want to seek. And then we provide that. And, and we've got these amazing students who are already on the campus who are the living, breathing embodiment of what it is that they're going to do. So then we use our current students to talk about what they're doing, what they like about what they're doing, what the challenges have been with what they're doing to fill the rest of that picture out. But we've surveyed our students, we've asked them questions about what what their interests are, what they're looking, what they want to get out of this program and this partnership with us. And we've tried to engage them as empowered partners with us in this amazing kind of village that we've created. So that doesn't answer your question. And I know exactly what you mean about that field. And one of the things that we're trying to get our students to understand is that the world is so much broader than they probably realize or recognize, and that their educations aren't just for them to get jobs and go into a career, but for them to become the best people that they can be and to realize the potential that they have for themselves. But also a lot of them are practical. I need to be able to, I hit the ground running with being able to support my family. What is that going to look like when when I graduate from SDSU? So balancing all of that, but I guess it starts with asking the question of the students and then providing them with the biggest, most beautiful picture we can paint of all the opportunities available to them. Alyssa, Madi, y'all want to add anything to that or?
No, I think you said it perfectly, Dr. T. I think what I would just add to it, when it does come with the pairing, the mentor and mentee pairing, we do ask for the mentees, like their interest, career interest, what are they thinking about? Because then that sometimes will help us with the pairing. If we have a student who's in STEM at SDSU and a student who maybe is in robotics at the middle school level, so there's an interest, so we will try to make those connections together. But I've seen, like Mary said, the mentors, they get very creative. We've seen presentations they put together to expose them to different career options, or have them, or ask the mentees, hey, present on your career, like you're already in the profession, and have them do the research themselves. So they empower them to do that, right? To do that research, to learn about those different career fields. So it's really beautiful to see those relationships and how they're exposing them to different careers, or what is out there offer for them. So yeah, I would just add that. Yeah.
I saw that there's another hand.
Yeah, Angelica.
Hi, yeah, along the same lines, I just started at a CSU as well, and just wanted to make myself available as a resource in STEM. But I was also curious if maybe that required seminar class is a way for us as faculty to expose different careers and get them early. So then that way they get connected with these other research summer programs. But also I'm from San Diego, so just very interested in reaching out to the whole communities, and it's great to hear the work that you're doing, and this way we can guide students to those programs.
Absolutely. And you're speaking our language, because we do use the seminar. We've got two cohorts currently. We've got a freshman cohort and a junior cohort, and we spend a great deal of time working through a curriculum that is tailored to meet each cohort's needs, and then to figure out in what ways can we pull them together as groups as well, and to support each other. It's been a big focus on wellness for a lot of our students. We've been bringing folks in, but what I love about being able to do this is that we meet more people, we make more partners that we would be able to kind of bring in and be able to share, have students know more about what's happening, because I feel like students can exist in their own bubbles, and especially now, given the circumstances. And what we're trying to do is open everything up. We're trying to open up people. I'm really interested in opening up faculty and giving students opportunities to interact and have conversations with faculty, which will affect their success going forward. Getting over the fears, the imposter syndrome, and all the things that prevent a student from just reaching out to a faculty member to have a conversation about something that they're curious about. So I thank you for that, because we're doing that, and we love having them as a captive audience in our seminar so that we can keep that going. And like I said before, they are also now, this fifth cohort, are also all being set up to have the leadership minor by the time they're done in their 4 years, which is really, that's brand new. We just worked that out, and it came about because of a student in our program. And so here we are, it's happening for a whole other cohort because of one student who kind of made us see that this would be something that could be an amazing opportunity. So we're open, is my point.